Hey, season gang. It's the season lady coming back at you with another one. And this one is one that I think that we really need to take seriously. The status or the position of our current financial situation. As seasoned folks and some folks that are seasoned, if your income is the only income, it is time to take those things seriously. And for my nieces and nephews, the sooner you get these things under control, the better. Because things are constantly going up. Everything seems to be becoming more and more expensive, and our income seems to not be increasing at the same level as everything else. So let's be real about this. Navigating the economy in today's society on limited or only one income is absolutely no joke. If you are single, over 50, you definitely need a serious financial game plan. So I'm going to break down some key steps to help you secure your future, to build wealth, and for us to be able to retire comfortable without having to worry about how we're going to pay for things. Now, I am never the Debbie Downer, so I am here with nothing but good news. So there's no need for us to get all bent out of shape about our finances and what we're going to do and, all of those things. I've got some notes here because I did, some research with some of the financial institutions and some of the people that I know that are doing quite well. And I just wanted to share that information with my season gang because at a time like this, I am 55. I have no plans to stop working, but you never know what's going to happen with your health or your circumstances or, your parents, your kids. You just, so many things are uncertain or unsure right now. And the best way, and I think I said this in a previous video, the best way to avoid emergencies is to have an emergency fund or some emergency finances that you can tap into if you need them. So, the reality of being single or having a single outcome is that, like I said, the cost of living is increasing significantly. Mortgage, insurance, rent, food, healthcare, even basic necessities like deodorant and toothpaste and lotion and paper towels and tissue, all the things that you need, the cost is currently, consistently going up. And, the packages are getting smaller and they last less amount of time. So when you are single or when you are seasoned and you only have one income, you have got to have a backup plan in case that income decreases, in case you become ill. I told you guys that my perspective on these things has changed greatly since my friend experienced that cardiac arrest. She is single. Her kids are adults. She had a full-time job and, she had bills and stuff just like me. And she's sitting in a skilled nursing facility right now recovering from that cardiac arrest. And I'm, as a friend and someone who this is heavy on her mind, those are one of the things that I'm concerned about. And, it's not the end of the world. Your life is more important than your finances. But we all know that one, illness or hospital stay or, one major emergency can cost you more than you have to give. So we want to be as prepared, as we possibly can be. And a lot of people assume assumed I'll figure it out later. And, I have not reached the level of financial security to where if I needed to quit tomorrow, I could. I also have to have health insurance. So, without another option or until I'm old enough to qualify for Medicare, if it still exists at that point, I have to have a job. I have to have an income, of some sort. And I'm going to come to you guys in another video and talk about some side hustles and some additional things that we can do in addition to what we are currently doing. But we do have to have a solid game plan for how we're going to move forward, in the future. It's not our kids' responsibility to take care of us. It's not even our significant other's responsibility to take care of us beyond their time here on earth. So we got to plan. We got to plan and govern ourselves accordingly. And I have just a few tips or essentials for a solid financial plan. Number one is that we have got to budget. We have got to track our spending. We have to monitor what we're spending, and we got to do away with the frivolousness of it all. You know, we have all of these streaming services and, you know, all of these things that we pay for that we don't even think about, you know, gym memberships and, you know, all of the little things, the Netflix and the Hulu and, you know, the cable and all of the things that, you know, we don't even think about. We just pay it. We need to make sure that we are managing those things and governing those things and making sure we aren't duplicating, you know, what we are spending money on. Again, I touched on this in another video, but you have got to have an emergency fund. And I would start with a small emergency fund. You know, I follow Dave Ramsey's school of thought when it comes to paying off debt and trying to get financially free. And his advice was to start with $1,000 emergency fund and then build on that. And that's the small goal. You know, you save that $1,000 and then you start paying down debt, and then you use the snowball effect to pay that debt down and blah, 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 blah. Financial Peace is an excellent tool if anyone is interested in doing some research. Dave Ramsey has a podcast, and he can be a bit much sometimes, but he is the man with the plan, and he has helped me tremendously with my debt and things of that nature. We got to prioritize paying off debt. And then we got to prioritize not creating more debt. So for me, I am not creating debt. I am paying for what I can afford to pay for. The only thing that I charge on credit cards are trips that I have to take via, you know, airplanes or hotel accommodations, Airbnbs, rental cars. And I don't charge more than I can afford to pay off when that bill comes. So that way I reduce debt. Now, I've had to buy, you know, tires, and I've had to do some other things. And, you know, you charge those things and you pay them off as they go. You get to know interest situations and things like that. But I try my level best to not acquire additional debt. And, you know, some would say pay off the high interest, but I use the snowball effect, and you just pay off the smallest amount with everything that you have and the minimums on everything else. And then once that's paid off, you take the money that you were applying to the next biggest one, and you keep going until things, you know, are paid off. And sometimes we have to downsize and be smarter, you know, with our spending. Sometimes we have to eliminate some things. You know, cable is very expensive, and I'm not sure if people still subscribe to cable with all of the streaming services. But if you have 3 or 4 of those streaming services, you may find yourself paying as much as you paid for cable. You know, we all got to have the internet. We got these cell phones, and, you know, we got to keep those things going. So we just want to be mindful, you know, of what we're spending. And then the next thing you need to do is find ways to grow your wealth. Now, a lot of people are investing. I know the stock market has been going down and things have been happening. And at our ages, we do not want to spend or risk our assets. So we don't want to do risky investing, but we need to take some time and invest in things that can grow over time that have limited risk. Again, like I said a few minutes ago, I'm going to do a separate video on the different side hustles that I do and things that I do to make some additional money. But you have to find flexible ways that earn income. And if you can do it passively, that's the best way to do it. You know, at 55 years old, we don't need to be adding hours to the amount of time that we work. We need to minimize, you know, how much time we spend, you know, on our feet and moving around and adding extra, you know, things to what we do. And then there's smart savings plans, you know, like the high yield savings account, CDs. You know, you want to earn the maximum amount of interest that you can on the money that you are saving and investing. After you have come up with some creative ways to invest your money and grow your wealth, we need to start looking at our long-term security plan. And for some of us, that's retirement, but I mean long-term. You know, I don't know if Social Security will even be around by the time that we need it, and we know that it by itself definitely won't be enough. If you're single, you need to be thinking about health care, long-term care, you know, possible assisted living. You know, many of us have children, but none of us want to burden our children with having to take care of us. So we do have to have a plan in place if we want to avoid that. You have to also consider life insurance. We don't want to burden anybody when we're no longer here. You want to do some estate planning and make sure you have your power of attorney, your advance directives, and things like that in cases of emergencies, because those are decisions that we don't want to have to burden our children with or our loved ones. We need to make clear what we want to happen, and we sometimes have to put things in place in order to be able to do that. So just real quick, this is a short and quick video, on ways that, if you are seasoned, and even more so if you're single and only have one income, that you have got to have a financial game plan. And the first thing we got to do is get real about the cost of living and cut back on our frivolous spending and things that we don't need. Then we need to figure out the essentials for having a solid financial plan, like budgeting, that emergency fund, managing our debt, downsizing if we have to. And then we got to look at ways to grow the wealth that we currently have, our 401ks, our investments, retirement accounts, side hustles, passive income. Make sure that the money that you're saving is at least making you some money. And then we got to look at the long term and retirement. What are we going to do when we can no longer work? So keep in mind, you need to, make sure that you have everything in place so that the things will be carried out the way that you want them to, and you won't be a burden to anybody else. And, finally, being single or being seasoned means taking control of your financial future, no matter what age you are. At 55, it is not too late. At 65, it's not too late. You just have to get started. Like I said in a previous video, you got to find your freedom number. You got to find that number that will make you comfortable and give you the sense of freedom that you need to enjoy the last stages of your life. And that means that you have to have your very own safety net to avoid, tragedies and bad things happening. So start planning now to avoid any financial failures or burdens or anything, on anybody else. So I hope this information was helpful to you guys. I know you've all heard this before. And if there's anything that you want me to tap into or research for you, or to try to gain some more information on how we can do the things, like I said, I'm going to come back and do another side hustle video, because, side hustles have been my game. I was a single parent of 2 children. I worked a full-time job. Sometimes I had a second job. Sometimes I had side hustles. Some of them turned out to be pyramid schemes. Some of them turned out to be something wonderful. So I have a list of things that I have done and the things that have been lucrative for me. And I'm going to create, a video on that subject for you guys. So hopefully this information was helpful. If you'll do me a big favor and like the video, subscribe to the channel. And until the next time, I'll chat with you soon. Toodles.